Hello there, you're listening to Tournament in a TeaBreak from BritWatch Sports. I'm Roz Sattar. The semi-finals have been set here at the Australian Open, but not without a few more shocks along the way. As we get to the business end, what have we learnt about the state of the ATP and the WTA at the start of the season? Well, in the first men's semi-final, we'll feature our very own Kyle Edmund. He stunned the number 3 seed, and indeed the world number 3, Grigor Dimitrov. He was commanding in the opening set and showed no signs of nerves playing in his first quarter-final, although he did admit that he was getting tired, and his level did dip a bit, allowing Dimitrov to level the match. The Bulgarian just couldn't get a grip on the match really from that point on. Edmund closed it out in 4 sets, and the self-belief in his game that's always been there. He's always been a quietly confident young chap, but he's handled the pressure of being the great British hope admirably. With Andy withdrawing before the tournament, that was a blow. But with Joe Conter going out so early, all the focus has been on him. And yes, obviously we've got people in the doubles, we've got the wheelchair singles, we've got juniors going well. But the focus for many people is always going to be in the main draw singles. I know that people get annoyed about that at home. People have been on Twitter bleating that, that Dominic Inglot, who went out yesterday, is still a Brit in the draw. But Edmund has handled everything really, really well. Now he will face Marin Cilic, who of course has got a lot more experience at this level. He is a former US Open champion. He made the Wimbledon final last year. We would honestly have to give him the edge. But if Edmund can actually hang in with him and actually stay with him toe to toe, make the margins really small, then he'll have to make Cilic work for it and earn it. Now, Cilic means that we of course lost the world number 1 on the men's side, as Rafael Nadal had to retire injured in his semi-final against the Croatian with a hip injury. Now thankfully an MRI has shown it to be recoverable within the next 3 weeks or so. Nadal will actually pick up his tour schedule as expected in Acapulco, and then we'll head to Indian Wells and Miami for that famous spring doubleheader. He got in his customary dig in for the tours to do more to protect the players. The hard court surfaces came in for criticism, as it often does. And of course, most of the season is played on the hard courts. They are very hard surfaces. They're laid on concrete. And, most of the tour is played on the surface. That's just a fact. But also consider that players create their own schedules. Nadal in particular will play the key hard court events, the ones that they're also expected to play as mandatory events as being part of the tour. But he also puts in time on the golden clay court swing in Latin America, as well as the European clay court swing, which obviously is his domain. And that can also result in heavy, claggy, difficult conditions on the limbs. It's difficult to say whether the tour can or should do anything. Andy Murray's hip issues seemed to stem from when he made that big push to get to the world number 1, and that was the cost. He's actually said he would happily give back the world number 1 if it meant that he could be on the tour again. At the end of the day, nobody's forcing players to do the tournaments that they do. They can choose, and we've heard it from the women as well that sometimes they have to be smarter at what they pick. It's going to be an issue that runs and runs when Nadal is concerned. Don't know what really he can do to fix it, other than maybe change his schedule and be a lot harsher at what he takes on. And looking across the whole of the year and not just on the hard courts. It's an accumulation of everything, not just a spell in Australia on the concrete courts in Melbourne. Anyway, on to the revelation of the tournament. There's been Hyun Chung. His CV this tournament reads pretty impressively. He's taken out both Zverev brothers. He's taken out his idol, Novak Djokovic, and then he paid to the rise and indeed subsequent social media fall or fail, depending on your point of view, of Tennis Sangren. Thankfully, his aggressive baseline and play and speed around the court has made him like a wall to his opponents, and his charming demeanour off the court, not to mention the delight of seeing him G up the crowd after key shots, has just won him a massive amount of fans here. He is part of that next gen batch of players, in fact much like Edmund, the ones to watch. And he's really coming good. He's backing up his next gen Milan finals win. And he's making his tennis do the talking. It's a delight to watch. Now, he's taken out one idol. He gets to face Roger Federer, who initially found himself in a little bit of bother at the hands of Thomas Berdych before getting into a bit of a challenge ruck with umpire Fergus Murphy. that riled Federer up enough to banish Berdych, and it has to be said, his title defence is looking pretty solid for slam number 20. It's going to be interesting, though, to see this particular battle. Chung out Djokovic, and Federer doesn't like that kind of style of play. He hates having to sort of grind away from the baseline. So this is going to be an interesting challenge. But Federer has experience by the bucket load. This is all a big new experience for Chung. So you have to give Federer the edge. You have to believe that he's just going to hang in there and find a way of frustrating him, coaxing him into errors. The whole sense of occasion is going to be quite a lot to deal with as well. I would give Federer the edge, but I do think that he is going to be taken to at least 4, if not the distance, to get his place in the final. Today is women's semi-finals day, and so the focus is on the ladies, and let's start with the first semi-final of the day, which is Caroline Wozniacki and Elise Mertens. Mertens has probably been a surprise package to many fans here, but she wowed in Perth. I still think that her match against Angelique Kerber was one of the matches of the tournament at this year's Hopman Cup. But she's been in pretty impressive form in Australia. She went to Hobart to defend her title. That, ironically, was what cost her a place in Australia last year at the qualifying event, which she's more than making up for on her debut here. Wozniacki, of course, is coming off the back of her WTA finals win. She started pretty well. She reached the Auckland final, and she almost had one foot out the door at the hands of Jana Fett, and her experience got her through. I think Mertens is going to work her hard, but I have to say, I think her experience is going to be what's key here, and I think she's going to be in the final. But the one that I really want to watch, I think the real blockbuster, is going to be Kerber-Halep. The 2016 champion Angelique Kerber has cost me at least a couple of rounds of drinks with colleagues from Germany, as twice I figured she was going to be in for a 3-set thriller against Sharapova and then against Madison Keys, and twice she's just blown them off the court. Simona Halep has played down her expectations, especially after that shocking ankle turn in her first match. She knows she's going to have to run today, and hopefully this time we will get a 3-set thriller. But Kerber's form and her aggression has been quite the sight to behold. It's not the first time that Kerber's tried to be aggressive, but I always found that even in 2016, even after she'd won here, even after she reached the Wimbledon final, even after she won the US Open, it never felt like it was a natural thing for her to find that aggression. She found it, but it felt like it was forced, whereas now it feels like a much more natural thing, and she's got that strength in her legs to run and run forever, as she says. But she really has a turn of pace on her that has been really great to see. I think we are in for a battle. I do think Kerber's going to edge it. I think Simona's going to be quite happy with the fact that, for the first time she's actually managed, in a couple of years now in Australia, she's managed to advance fairly high. I don't think she had any expectations after that ankle turn. I also think that she's taken her expectations down a notch, especially after the disappointment of losing at Roland Garros. So I think this one's going to be the one to watch. I honestly can't see anybody beating Kerber, especially after she survived against Che Hu-Wei. So yeah, this is my match to watch. We will be back for a full-on recap of the women's semi-finals and a preview of their final, and once the men have done their thing, we'll of course do the same for them, all in the name of equality. This has been Tournament in a Tea Break, and I'm Roz Sattar.